So Nellie, as you and I were catching up, just like walked in, and I'm sure she's like, "All right, I'm gonna go right in frame." Did you see that? She's like,
Yeah.
"I'm not gonna go over here."
No, no.
She's like, "No, I want to be right in frame." You know,
She wants to be a superstar.
superstar. I'm trying to pet her, but I don't know how to do it. There we go.
Uh-huh.
I'm
There it is.
petting
Sort
her
of.
little head.
Hey, I'm sure
Holy
you didn't. You
shit!
had an bro.
Holy shit, Carrie Twig! How are you feeling? You said you got me fired up when you were like, "I'm fired up." That you don't typically do that. You don't typically, It's been
And
a while since.
it came immediately after tears, honestly.
So
Like
did
I watched it live last night, all 17 hours of it. I did not watch Slotkin because I was just over it. Passed out mostly out of distress
yeah,
around like 10 p.m.
yeah,
Woke up this morning, felt so bad,
same.
burst into tears. And I'm not a crier, like I don't mind crying, but it's just typically not my general response. Burst into tears.
Seen
And
you cry.
then
I've
yeah,
seen you
I just
cry. Never seen you cry in person.
maybe. Yeah, I'm sort of like a dog in the woods, you know what I mean? It's just like I'll wander off like to cry in private.
Do you mean
But I
like when
also just
dogs die? Is that what you
yeah.
mean? You like want that's when you cry. You wander off like a
Yeah.
dog to cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I just also just like I'm just not that much of a like very little moves me to tears. I don't mean to sound like Spock or something, but I mean I have all sorts of other emotions. I just not a crier. I feel sad and stuff, but anyway, but
But
burst into tears this morning. And I
last
think
night,
because I actually felt like a real, whatever optimism I had about our ability to meet this moment pretty much cratered. Um, I I thought he did everything that he needed to do. Don't get me wrong, so much of it's bullshit, so much of it is lies, so much of it is distortions, but in that sort of nefarious, malicious way. Think he nailed it, which is really a bummer. What did you think? Did you watch it last night or
not watch it last night. Watch it this
Mhm.
morning. In fact, I was texting you. I kept pushing back our record time because I was still getting through it because it was so long. I didn't know how
So
long
long, dude?
it was going to be.
Unlike
Um,
everything else about him.
yeah, no. Sadie, Oscar, and I watched Survivor, an old school Survivor episode, David
Great.
v. Goliath, season
Great.
37. Didn't know that Mike White, the creator of White Lotus, was on that season. Just
Oh,
as
that's
a,
apparently like there was an
yeah,
article last week that was like everything you need to know about White Lotus creator Mike White. You can learn
it was
about him and
crazy.
his Survivor. Yeah.
It's like, why is Mike Lotus on Survivor? It's great. So no, I purposely didn't want to watch it live because what happens when I watch it live is I'm trying to do both. I'm trying to like watch the discourse and then also watch the content. So I
Yeah.
flipped it this time. So kids went to bed, pulled up the computer, watched the content first, fell asleep. And when I watched the content, um, it struck me that um, he did a really good job just from the content and just from the rhetoric. Then I woke up this morning, watched. Um, well, wait, let's go back a step though, because you got emotional. You don't typically get emotional. Um, what what was it that strikes fear, or like what are the emotions that you're having on why you got emotional this morning?
I think because so often, like this is our work, right? This had been my career for so long, was like interacting with campaigns and thinking about campaigns and elected officials and watching them, that usually when I watch Trump or anyone else, like a part of my analytical brain turns on, which
Yeah,
overrides whatever sort of emotional response I would have. And so my instinct is actually to be catapulted into thinking versus catapulted into feeling things when I'm engaging with political stuff. But I think last night I was really, you know, I was really concerned by how successfully I think Donald Trump told a story about
Yeah.
what his presidency is and means and what this moment in America means, and that the Democrats offered no and have not for a while offered a compelling alternative to that story. And I'm someone who spent 15 years in politics and then went into film and TV because I actually think you need the story first before you can have the legislation, right? That you have to capture the imagination of Americans before you can get them to support certain policies or legislation or laws. And that's like a direct set of thinking from my experience. And so watching him tell this really entertaining, if false, right? But really weave this kind of elaborate narrative about what he means, what he's capable of, the way he dogged Democrats throughout and was just like these people and just like diminish them, the things he was saying about Joe Biden. It was just, I actually think it was really, and again, in a malicious, nefarious, mendacious way, masterful. And that made me feel really, and then like the kind of anemic response from Democrats with their rinky-dink little signs. Like I was just like, oh God, we're gone for it's gone for a generation. Like I don't know how we I actually
I mean,
don't know how we come back from this. And like that's what made me cry. It's like I haven't actually felt as despondent. So sorry guys. But yeah, I felt really pretty despondent about it.
I'm feeling despondent in this moment because I just watched it. So it's like raw
Yeah.
emotion for me, especially hearing that you got emotional. It's getting raw for me. Here's what I'm going to say about what you just said, which is Barack Obama agrees with you. Barack Obama could have chosen to do anything in his post presidency. He's a very young guy. And he realized that storytelling, film, podcasts, content is what could potentially change culture. Because remember, Obama did all this post Trump winning, right? This idea of passing the baton to Hillary Clinton and Obama's legacy being cemented, all of that gone. So what does Barack Obama choose to do? He chooses to make content.
Yeah.
He
And
could have done
conversely,
anything. He could have done
yeah,
anything.
yeah,
And what are Democrats, what are we losing? Not just the battle, but the war of every single day. It's the content battle. It's the content war. And last night,
attention.
it's attention. And last night, we lost so badly, so badly. We had no plan. There was no plan. The little placards, that was the plan. That's the plan.
I know.
The placards
And
was the
then
plan.
and then Donald Trump spends his whole career learning how to be an entertainer, making sure he is in the right newspapers and is a television star and is at WWF and WWE and now he gets to be president slash king, you know? It's and then we continue to fight as though it's the Obama era,
Yeah.
as opposed to looking at what's working for him and competing in that what same way. And it's like I get it, Democrats don't want to be like break decorum or whatever. But then how about being compelling? Like it actually doesn't. You said something I think before we even got on that was just like, why wasn't there a counter? Why didn't we counter program?
I mean, why
Why
didn't we
wasn't
do
there?
anything? Why wasn't there a strategy or a plan other than corny, cringe ass Hakeem Jeffries making the worst kind of content before? Like, what are we doing here? You know, we're in a crisis. This is an urgent moment, not just for America, but for the world. We're in a trade
Yeah,
war, we're in multiple wars. And I think that the creativity of the Democratic Party, the courage, it just isn't there. It just isn't there. And God bless Al Green. I know that there's some friends of mine who hated it, including one of my favorite humans who's an elected official, did not like what Al Green did. Also, every time I see and hear Al Green, I just think of my favorite
Yes.
music artist of all time,
You gonna
Al
sing
Green.
for us, B?
No, I can't sing. No, I mean Al Green. At least there was
I
something.
know.
At least there was something. And the sad thing is, like, I watched it after the fact, so I already knew Al Green did all of this. So in my head, I'm like, there must have been something else. There must have been something after Al Green. And the
I
fact that
know.
there wasn't a strategic plan on messing up the decorum, because we're not in traditional times anymore. You know what I mean? Like
And I thought,
hollowing out the federal government. Like, what is happening right now is not normal. That was the one thing. God bless Melanie, who's a friend, Congresswoman Melanie Sandberg. That was the best moment of the whole night. She just had a little sign right behind Trump. She was like, "This is not normal."
but it was like a great opening, right? It
Yeah,
was a great start.
great,
Like it was a
great.
strategic use. She knew her camera angle. She knew what was going to
Yes.
happen. Like, and then
Boom.
we do the thing the Democrats do. We stuck with that thing. People had little dry erase boards and it was like holding up little signs to try and get the camera to, it was, it was not like that was good because it was unexpected. And then it became
Yes.
tired. And everyone
Yes.
just kept doing it for the next 2 hours, were walking out and taking their jacket off and having a little t-shirt with a slogan on it. I was really appalled. And yeah, it spoke to a real lack of creativity, a lack of like understanding how this stuff works. I again, like, why is the Democratic Party not immediately calling in every major television producer that is
Yes.
willing to work with them and being like, okay, why did we not understand how to produce the television show of that moment?
Yes.
And I find it to be so fury inducing and like crazy making that it's just so obvious. And I don't understand what the, I don't understand what the problem was. When Al Green stood up and like forced them to kick him out, I was like, all right, here we go.
Me
Every
too.
5 minutes, someone's hitting, like, here we go. Let's watch this. They have a strategy, they have a plan. They're going to make this, they're making something happening. They're forcing Trump to be on their turf. And then, of course, it was just crickets for the rest of the time. And here's the thing, as we heard over and over and over again throughout the speech, Donald Trump dogged Joe Biden. He dogged Democrats at multiple
Yep.
points in time, pointed all the cameras directly to the silent, stone faced, phone scrolling Democrats, and was like, they don't support me. They'll never, no matter what I do, they're never going to blah, 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 da, 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 da. He's going to say that about you regardless. He is going to say that
Exactly.
about you no matter what you do. We have learned this over and over and over again throughout throughout the Obama years. Like, they're going to say what they're going to say, and so you can't determine or make your strategy based on what you want do or do not want them to say about you. And because they're going to absolutely criticize you and savage you anyway. And I just hope that, like, I hope they understand that last night they got schooled and embarrassed by a madman. And I hope they
Smoked.
remember that feeling. And I hope it stays with them. And I hope they are feeling as despondent as so many of the rest of us are, and that it compels them into action and it compels them into the reality of the moment, which is they've got to start competing within the context of the game and the battle that's in front of us and not what they want it to be. Like, get out of their delusional and wishful thinking and show up to this moment as it actually exists. I get that it's not what any of us want, but it's what's here. And like, that fundamental lack of acceptance is outrageous, and it is malpractice if they want to continue to be civic leaders. Otherwise, get rid of them. Otherwise, I hope everybody gets primaried, aside from three of these motherfuckers, three people.
Breach. I love that. So should we go through a little bit for folks that did not are not gluttons for punishment, or are, maybe into some BDSM and wanted to watch 3 hours of Trump being king, which is what just went
It
down.
was. Yeah, let's do
How would
it.
you describe the structure of the evening? I think that the sort of political theater of it all, as I mentioned, we had Melanie, Congressman Stansbury, do this beautiful "This is not normal," which is the perfect encapsulation of the moment, that this isn't normal.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that, I got excited, because then I'm like, okay, this is not normal. So therefore, we're not going to act like this is normal. We're not going to be
Right.
complicit. We're
Right.
not going to be
But no.
complicit in the tradition of this. We are going to get fired up. We're going to do some crazy shit. So no, there's none of that. We've got, like, doesn't JD Vance look like the bully in Pee
That's
Wee
so
Herman? He
weird.
looks more and more like the bully from Pee Wee Herman. I don't know the actor's name, and maybe we'll throw up a screenshot of it. I think that's the only thing we'll ask Peter to do, is like throw up a shot of. He's just such.
His head is
His
gigantic.
head is so big, and I have a big head too. So I don't want to talk just about the bigness of his head, but
Hilarious.
I
That's
when
complicity.
that's complicity in big heads. But when Al Green stood up, JD Vance, did you see him? And where he's like, "Get him out,
Yeah.
get him out,
Yeah.
get him out." So we had that really great moment, and then we had Donald Trump lie. I mean, that's the other part. You're being very generous in, I think, your breakdown at the top, when you were saying he's a great showman. A lot of what he was saying was not true. Carrie Twig, I think all of what he was saying was not true. I mean, other than all of the bullshit, I renamed the Gulf of Mexico, right? Or I made English the official language. Those are real things that he did. But what I mean to say is, like, anything that was claiming to be fact based, numbers based, economy based, was just all bullshit. Was just all
Yeah.
bullshit. But I think what was watching it, if I were not an American, and it sounds like you watched it with someone who was not an American, I would be impressed by how much has changed fundamentally in America in 2 months. Is it 2 months?
Yeah.
Two
Yeah. 40
months.
some days. Not even. Right?
Not even two
Not
months.
even 2 months.
Six
Um,
weeks.
6 weeks.
And that's the reason why I thought we could have been, and we say this every week, more creative. We knew he was going to lie for 3 hours straight. You just know that that's going to happen. So, what's the plan? What's the
Yeah.
plan? When
Well,
there's
and
a
here's the
lie,
thing. I think my main takeaways are this. One, he used this as an opportunity to really, really, really entrench sort of in the narrative and in the minds who's ever watching, and and again, this is a really sophisticated understanding. Like, he knew how to make that speech have 30 different headlines, all of which are going to work for him. Right. So
yeah,
he made and shored up the case for Doge, right?
yeah,
For, like, he had this killer line that, Democrats kept saying, we need legislation, we need legislation. Turns out all we needed was a new president, when he was talking about immigration, and, like, his lies around the fact that, like, there's never been less fewer. What it doesn't actually, okay, so there's never been fewer illegal border crossings. So I thought that there were a handful of things that led me to say that he did a really good, quote unquote, good job, right? If we're assessing the, not on terms of whether or not he was accurate, whether or not it was
yeah,
transparent or honest, but in terms of what will it be an effective vehicle for the to maintain or increase support with American voters? And I
yep,
say yes, right?
yep,
And I think that's because he really effectively laid out the case for, like, this action. Americans are fed up. We know that they want swift action. They don't understand the nuances of policy. They don't understand why things go so slow. And so him saying, we did this, we did this, we did this, we did this, I think is actually super effective.
agreed.
He he platformed and rolled out his cabinet, right? He took
Yep.
time to sort of mention almost all of the major cabinet secretaries, laid out what they are going to be working on behalf of the American people, affirmed his support in all of them, was gracious and thanked them all, spoke about how some of them, especially same with Elon, like he didn't need to do this. He's sacrificing on behalf of you, right? So he insulated them and really protected them and lent them his sort of imprimatur. And that I think is going to be really powerful for people. He used personal stories of that animated and motivated why he feels he should be president, right? So these poor families, these poor families who've lost their children or lost siblings or had to interact with complex and like devastating kind of medical diagnoses. He had these like perfect made for TV moments where not only was he highlighting these stories, as every president, as Barack Obama did, as most presidents do during these big speeches, saying like little Timmy from wherever, needs an inhaler. It's also what he did, what I thought was really masterful and an advancement of this like tried and true technique of personal stories was he then said, and I'm keeping my promise to you that we will not forget them, right? And I'm naming this thing after, I'm naming this executive order, this law after you. I'm naming this peaceful, serene wildlife refuge after you. I am having you sworn into a little boy who loves law enforcement, sworn into the Secret Service and deputized into the Secret Service. Like he not only told a personal story to advance a policy point, but he also then said, I am going to keep my promise. I am the sort of the one who will keep my word, which I thought was really brilliant and devastating. He made a really sort of offensive case for government and really misleading case for government bloat and government inefficiency, like listing off a like litany of things that the government has spent money on that can sound, if you're not paying attention, if you're not well versed in these policy issues, can sound completely ridiculous and completely unnecessary, especially to Americans who feel like they have not gotten a fair shake or care from their government or are struggling to put food on their bills. $50 million for something in Lesotho sounds excessive. In the broad scheme of how much money the government spends and what you get in return for those dollars, it's not, but that's not a compelling counter argument, right?
Yeah.
And so he took the time to humiliate a bunch of other countries, typically African and Central American countries. He kind of dismantled the idea that we should be doing any foreign aid, that we should be spending money anywhere else aside from in the United States. Um, and said like all of that's sort of gone and like demonized this entire concept of American kind of charity or American investment outside of its own borders. Um, and then he had, as we talked about, he had Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro and all the right people used it as like a
Matt
chance to
Walsh.
Matt
Ugh.
Walsh to like bring his guys and to have them there so that they then get to go and make content. So you're going to
Yeah.
see all these massive podcasters and YouTube stars now get to be like, I was there, da, 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 I'm so important. And they're going to be even further generating the echo chamber that is supportive of the president. So he just, I think until it's, yeah, it's like, I don't understand how we can continue to, you know, let this guy run amok. It's outrageous. Oh, and he also then castigated and like humiliated Democrats throughout. Like he did everything he needed to do.
Yeah.
He nailed it from
But
his,
these
for,
are all things. These are all things we know he was going to do, and that's the thing that I keep coming back to, which is, the killer lines that he had from the night are all bullshit lines. Like I wrote a few of these down. Free speech is back. Free speech is back to a standing ovation, and yet just did an executive order where protest on college campuses, if you
course.
protest against Israel on college campuses, you will get expelled. And if you're non-US citizen, you get deported. But free speech is back. Free speech is back, baby. Free speech is back, but if you call Elon Musk a dick, then the Attorney General of the Department of Justice is going to send you a letter saying that you cannot call Elon Musk a dick, right? So I don't know. Like in my head, I just feel like every piece of the evening, Democrats could have had a plan for. And, you know, not to loop in culture, because this is something that you and I are going to do and we continue to do all the time. Why was there not a plan, to your point? Why was there not a plan to get AOC Jasmine Crockett on Colbert the exact night?
Exactly.
Like, why was there not a plan? Like, I'm sure, like, let's just be real. Steven would have them on in a heartbeat. Why was there not a plan to talk to Seth Meyers, to talk to all, like, you know, when it comes to comedy and culture and arts, we still have The Daily Show. We still have we still have John Oliver. We still have all these things. We still have, you know, SNL. Why are we not planning something? When he said, I'm going to do this bullshit speech for 3 hours, why is there not a plan to have something immediately after? Because I love Alyssa Slotkin. Part of the reason why we pushed back our recording 15 minutes was because I told Twig, I got to watch the response. I wasn't able to watch the Slotkin response. Senator Slotkin is awesome. This is not, what I say is not in any criticism of her speechwriter. What she said was great. It was good. It was super competent. It was 100% correct. She said all the things that she needed to say. She pushed back against every lie, misinformation, every omission of what Donald Trump is doing to the American people. 4 billionaires, 4 corporations, 4 billionaire CEOs. Like the fundamental thing about that speech, you would be led to believe that Donald Trump actually gives a fuck about anyone in this country that is not a billionaire. His policies, his budget, like what he wants to do disproves that notion. Alyssa Slotkin made a very competent, boring ass 11-minute speech, posted it on YouTube, and no one has watched it. No one gives a shit. And that is in an era where we just saw the Oscars a few nights ago. We have the most gifted storytellers, producers, cinematographers, musicians. Like, they're all there. Like, what the fuck are we doing? How do we not have a plan? And, you know, I was texting with Roger Lau and Sam about a thing. You know, Roger's the new ED of the DNC. And, you know, I just texted him congrats. And I'm just like, you know, trying to be nice about it. And we love to have Roger on. And I think we'll have Roger on. And I know, Twig, you're going to be in town next week. But, like, we desperately need to get more fucking innovative and more serious about what is happening. And Democrats and the Democratic Party, I know we did all of those interviews with the DNC chairs. Is Ken Martin alive? Like, is he like actually alive? Like, is he a living person that's the chair of the DNC? Because I've not seen this motherfucker one time. One time, Ken Martin. I haven't seen you one time. Has he been out there? Has he gone on anywhere? What does the Democratic Party stand for? What does the Democratic Party stand for? And you have to create formats, and you have to create programming, you have to create content that tells that story. And I'm sorry, you guys failed last night. You just failed. Yeah. You just failed.
Yeah. Like, all while they're succeeding. And it's just like the battle when we're not in a cycle, right? Yeah. We are not technically in a presidential cycle yet, right? The midterms cycle has begun, but presidential cycle is not. Like, as a proxy for voters, think about viewers.
Yes.
Right? Until we are in cycle and we're counting voters, think about viewers and think about which would you rather watch? Like, and be objective.
Yeah.
Don't think about policies, don't think about plans, don't think whether or not he's lying or not. Think about the battle for attention. Who would you rather watch last night? Donald
Yeah.
Trump or Alyssa Slotkin?
Yeah.
Right? And if there was any credible reason to believe that voters cared about plans or detailed policy proposals or accuracy or facts, then I would say I would maybe have a different set of recommendations. But they have proven over and over and over again that they do not. Otherwise, Hillary Clinton would have been president. Otherwise, Elizabeth Warren would have been president. Right? That's not what voters care about. And so, in if you do not know what to do in this moment, count views. What are people
Yeah.
going to want to watch? You and this dry policy pronouncement, or showman of the year, Donald Trump? Like, I don't get it. It was a
It's
made for
there.
TV speech. It was
Yes.
long, but like
Yes.
at no point was it not hitting notes. He was hitting notes every single time. There's rising action, falling action, denouement, rising action, falling. Like, it was unbelievable over and over and over again. And I don't, it's guys, get in the game.
Well, here's the other part that, and we gave Cory Booker props last week, I think, because he gets it. He understands that there is really incredible storytelling happening. It's not coming from the Democratic Party. It's coming from the hundreds of thousands of people and families who've already been affected by Doge, who's already been affected by cuts to NIH, cuts to education, dismantling and hollowing out of our federal government, who are just telling their story on their fucking iPhones. And so
Yeah.
Cory's just been giving his platform to everyday people. Why did we not invite those people to DC? Why was there not, I love Bernie Sanders. He went out there. I love fight the oligarchy stuff, went to Nebraska, went to Ohio, went to all these places, fired people up, gave those voices a voice on stage. I watched the content. I watched it live. Bernie Sanders, as much as I love this man, he's not primetime anymore. No one is watching Bernie Sanders content anymore, other than all of my leftist brethren. You know what I mean? Like, so what are we doing is the question. What are we doing? What are the big ideas that we are having? And the big ideas that we need to have right now is storytelling, because what they have right now is all of the power.
Yeah.
My brilliant, beautiful, incredible wife this morning reminded me, Democrats don't have any power. Yes, that's true. But we still do have the power of storytelling. What are we doing every single day? Who are we talking to every single day? And for this moment to be so annihilated, to be so smoked in this way, when we know that we have storytellers at the ready, and those storytellers are everyday people. Those are everyday people. Why did we not do counter programming? Why was there not literally just, it doesn't cost any money. By the way, the DNC claims that they're in the red. They still have a shit ton of money. All of these members of Congress and senators all have millions of dollars in their coffers.
Yeah. I mean,
let's just go. Let's just start fighting. We're not fighting.
I know. And I mean, I think that I think that, to your point, it's like we're doing so many like individual little piecemeal things here and there, and trying. I know that everyone's trying to like figure out how to use the internet and how to use social media. None of it actually understands how information moves through an ecosystem.
Yeah.
So information tends to go one way, in terms of it tends to go from the kind of high, largest, longest format, and then trickle down into the smaller formats. And then occasionally what you see on short form, what you see on social, what you see on X and Twitter and Blue Sky then can ladder up and you'll see it reflected in the thinking of some long form content, but very rarely, right? It almost always goes one directionally. And so we keep making this investment in short form content influencers who are A, subject to be punished by an algorithm, right? Like their
Yeah.
success and failure is determined by an algorithm and a black box that we do not understand, by actors that we do not control and that may or may not support us. And then it doesn't ladder up to kind of broader, bigger scale forms of content.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, what Donald Trump understands so well, and what the conservative media ecosystem understands so well, is that directionality of content and storytelling and how to actually have a multifaceted, like how to actually feed and win the overall narrative across multiple platforms. And I just like
Here's what we could have done. I just
I
thought of the idea.
personally, okay,
Yeah.
let it rip.
No, no, go, 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 go.
No,
No,
no, no,
sorry, I
go
just
ahead.
got fired up. Like, and this is the reason you and I are going to do a meeting with Roger, and like, you know how there's a simulcast. So if you watch Monday Night Football, there's now like multiple simulcasts. The Manning brothers started it. You've got other people that are doing it as well. It would have been so simple for there to have been a simulcast
Yeah.
with Jon Stewart, John Oliver, Trevor Noah, pick
Well,
AOC, you know, or just or I mean, where
I don't
you
know if you
you
could get them to do it, but it's like, but also
why not?
AOC or like, well,
Why not?
because they have contracts with other jobs that might not allow them to do something
All right,
directly
maybe
for
not
the
those guys, but there are hundreds of comedians out there who are fucking
apps. This is my,
brilliant and
yes.
hilarious, right? I
Yeah.
I use them as an example. I don't think Trevor's under contract right now. I think he has a podcast. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
think
but like I don't know that
Hassan
Trevor would want to. But
Hassan
sending but
Minhaj is out there interviewing all of these incredible folks. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like there are people out there who we just need to actually have real high level conversations with. And in that moment, when King Trump was speaking, the fact that we didn't have a plan at all
Right.
is what I'm saying. Sorry, I'm getting fired up, but I'm just like, I just saw that on the spot. That is the Democratic Party's job. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean I don't think they agree with you. Otherwise, you know what I mean?
That is their
Like I don't
fucking
think they see it that
job.
way.
That is their job, bro. And all of these
Clearly they don't
organizations,
agree.
I mean, there are also other organizations out there. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they're doing a lot of shared Instagram posts. That's cool, you know, because then you can accumulate more of your echo chamber to see the content. That's cool. But like, what are we actually doing that will pierce the armor? Because there's, I mean, literally, it's like Hassan Piker is like the only motherfucker out here. I can't think of another person who is actually penetrating non-mainstream media, young people, and doing it every day at scale. And
Yeah.
and we are continuing down this path of ignoring the problem. So I don't know, Twig. Sorry, I'm getting fired up, but I do want to offer like what are ways, what are concrete solutions? I also, even in my own head, I told you I want to record this podcast more often. I hated the idea of doing those like shitty little TikTok, Instagram videos in your car. Like, I'm going to start doing them. We have no choice.
I know. I know. I have a little Substack and I wrote a Substack article this week that was like, you should start a podcast. Like
Everyone.
everyone needs to start a podcast. It's really
Yes.
easy. DM me and I'll tell you how to do it. Like
Yes.
you don't need millions of views. You don't
Yes.
like we just need more. We need more people who are willing to talk from whatever point of view that is authentic to them. Like you can talk about gardening, talk about
Yeah.
how much you hate your neighbor, but then weave in somehow this is affecting you or you're concerned about Donald Trump's tariff policy or how you hate that neighbor but you still don't want to see him deported, like whatever. I don't care what you talk about, but like we have got to, because they're not going to do it for us. Clearly Democratic Party is not going to do it for us.
No.
Clearly members of Congress are not going to do it for us with
No.
tiny, tiny number of exceptions. So, like, if you need something to do, if you're looking for a way to be involved in this moment, like, get chatting and
Yeah.
don't just, and like chat for an hour and a half. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, give people some more in-depth, like, running commentary. Don't just like make one little post, don't just repost a
Yeah.
story. Like, get to writing, talking, organizing, because
Yes.
this is outrageous and no one is coming to save us.
The challenge right now is last night was a perfect Venn diagram of very real policies that hurt the most vulnerable people in America
Yeah.
and beyond America as well, matched with storytelling to justify it. It was
Yeah.
the perfect Venn diagram of leading you to believe. If you didn't know, if you don't understand what Donald Trump is doing, you would watch that and be like, oh, yeah. Well, everything he's doing is right, you know? Because clearly we're not seeing what the Democrats would do with their paddles and their t-shirts. You know what I mean? Like, um, and so look, midterms are right around the corner. And God bless organizations like Run for Something. God bless organizations like the Native American Rights Fund, legal funds, redistricting committee. There's so many organizations that have not slept in the past 6 weeks because of the assault on the American people. Don't think that because the Democratic Party sucks at this, that they don't know their ass from their face when it comes to storytelling. Don't think that there aren't people in this country that are fighting for you and your families, because they are. And a lot of them are incredible members of Congress and incredible US senators, right? But I do agree with you, Twig. Like, we're in this moment now where storytelling, because we keep asking the Democrats to do something on it, maybe we just need to give up the ghost. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to
They
happen.
just don't know how to do it. They don't know how
They
to
just
do
don't
it,
want to
and
do
they
it.
need to be trained up. And it's like
It's
it's
not
going
going
to
to
take
happen.
years, but like it's just need other people need to be.
Other
We just
people
need
are going to
other
need to do
people.
it. And you and I are going to do it. You and I are going to start recording more often. I am going to start getting very, very more fired up about recording more often and seeing you and doing this because we're in really dire straits, y'all. Because here's the thing: Democrats do not have any branch of government, zero. We do not have the Supreme Court. Republicans have so decimated state legislative houses. Trump has appointed so many district and circuit court judges across the country. All of the actual legislative power rests in the hands of Trump and Elon Musk. The only thing we have right now is storytelling and art and music and culture. It's all we've got. It's all we've got. And so I just started following this incredible human. I forget her name. She's a poet, but she does these beautiful poems every day about like what's happening. And it's just devastating. It's so incredible. And I'm like trying to find more content like her. Like, people, just to your point, just need to do whatever thing you're fucking into, just start posting about it. Do not be afraid. I'm saying this to myself in a way. This is like my own pep talk. Like, we all need to be the voice. This sounds like a Barack Obama quote on a t-shirt, you know? But it's like for real now. Our Democratic leaders are not here to save us. Barack Obama is not here to save us. Joe Biden,
Yeah,
Kamala Harris, none of these people are here to save us. Hakeem Jeffries is certainly not here to save us.
bro.
It's us, it's Twig, it's me, it's Marina, it's everyone who watches Twig and Jenkins. We last night proved that like we are in dire straits. Everyone needs to start, Twig, you got me fired up when you were saying like the deluge of content. It's just like supply, you know?
Yeah.
We don't have the
But
supply.
we don't have the supply.
We don't
Like
have the
we are
supply.
Americans, all of us, people in the West, like we are addicted to content and we are not supplying like and I wish that weren't true, but it is. And so until like they stop feeding that and bringing and like owning the block, then like we need to start like
Yeah.
we need to be supplying that. Otherwise, we're going to lose the attention economy and that's where the contest is.
Yeah. So back to brass tacks on next steps from here. We have um we have a bunch of fights ahead. What do you think if you are Carrie Twig? How old were you when you started working at the Ohio Democratic Party, Twig? You're 21?
19.
19. That's like against child
Yeah.
labor laws, I think. I don't think Democratic
Not
Party.
quite.
It's close.
Not quite. Yeah,
Okay.
not quite.
So the 19-year-old version of you, right? You're working at the Ohio Democratic Party.
Technically, I was working
Um,
for Ted Strickland's campaign, but yes.
okay. What advice do you have for people? Two questions. What do you have for people in the fight right now? Right? Because I'm sure that there are people that feel like you and I who are so frustrated. What advice do you have for them to the 19-year-old Carrie Twig who is in this moment? And then I'm going to ask the second question because I think that it needs to be asked. Where is Hollywood? And how do we? I know that there are some incredible people like Kerry Washington and others that have been building things, America Ferrara, Wilmer with Harness. Like there is some action happening right now. But I do think that we need in this moment to put pressure on our best filmmakers, our best producers, our best cinematographers. Like you and
I
I,
would
like
actually push back on that. I
you
think it
don't
is
think you don't
really,
think
really, I think we do, but hear me out.
okay,
And I've actually had this conversation a bunch. Like, I actually do not think it is either reasonable, fair, or likely to succeed to ask artists, people who have opted into a different career, a different
yeah,
line of work, to come and do a job that Congress people are failing at. Like, I think that they are going to look and see what
true,
members of Congress are doing and the way that they are wetting the bed and say, like, wait a second, you want me, who is not an expert at this, who does not know
true.
better than someone who is a senator to do this because they're doing it. Like, I don't think that's fair, reasonable, and I don't think it'll be successful. If I'm a big time celebrity and I'm watching what is happening and you come and ask me to do something that y'all aren't even doing, it's like, get out of my face. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
To
So
push back though, to
I
push
don't think
back
we have a
though,
leg to stand on until they get their shit together. Don't get me wrong. There's artists, there's directors, there's producers, there
yeah,
are people who've already opted in, who have a quite
yes,
sophisticated understanding of politics. I think that we can squad them up. I don't think they need pressure, right? I think what we need from them is just like, let's get organized, let's get talking, and like leave these guys in the dust and let's just do what we think is best. We have historically told the elements of Hollywood that have been engaged in politics that they need to take their cues from the campaign, from the party, from elected officials. We need to sever that. And it's just like, you guys do what you think is best because clearly they don't know.
I mean, I've never felt that way though, right? I know that's the traditional form of engagement when it comes from DC to Hollywood and vice versa, right? That's why there's so much friction, in my humble opinion, between DC and Hollywood among artists like Adam McKay or among artists like Mark Ruffalo or people who are at the highest level of their craft and who truly believe in change and who truly believe that our politicians are bought and sold and that they're not doing enough and they don't know and understand how to communicate to the American people. I think that I've always felt this way. I've always felt that they know how to communicate, and in some cases we here in DC know how to get shit done. And the track record of Democrats being able to get shit done gets smaller and smaller by the day. And in fact, for the next 4 years, well, sorry, for the next year and a half until those midterms, we'll see. Um, we're not going to get anything done. And so I think that this, you're right. I don't think that someone like an Adam McKay, who, by the way, it's a personal thing for me because McKay is co-founder of Funny or Die. I technically worked for McKay for many years. I met him one time at a dinner, and it was an incredible moment where, you know, McKay was Obama's biggest critic, right? McKay fucking loved Elizabeth Warren. And he kind of hated Obama because he felt like Barack never went far enough. Knowing and given how much power Barack Obama had coming in, knowing how much he could change, I think there are many people like Adam McKay that hoped and believed that there could be a lot more done. We did this video with Barack Obama for healthcare with Zach Galifianakis. It saved Obamacare. It saved healthcare.gov. And McKay had nothing to do with it, absolutely nothing to do with it. And that year that we did a dinner, and McKay was at the dinner, and he gave this toast, and he said, he was just like, I am so proud of what we just accomplished. I never believed that something like this could happen, that someone like Barack Obama, who we had a very low estimation of, would be willing to do something as creative as this, because this actually will impact people's lives. And that was always the thing with Adam. It was always like, what are these motherfuckers in Washington willing to do to get out of their comfort zone, and also willing to trust people like Zach and Scott Aukerman to know how to fucking be funny, because they know that, like, that's how we win. We win by being creative. We win. We're so much more fucking funny and entertaining and thoughtful and heartfelt and real and pure than these motherfuckers. It's not even close. You know? Sorry, I'm on my soapbox, but it's like, and what I do think that happens though, is I think that a lot of those people that truly care have a huge chip on their shoulder in Hollywood, because they're upset. To your point, they're like, do your job. You know what I mean? Like, do your job. But in a moment of crisis, it's almost like we have to recognize, it's almost like being in a relationship or having a close friend or knowing someone. It's like they don't know how to do it. They
They
don't know
don't know
how
how
to
to do
do it.
it. And like, while I love hearing all these behind the scenes stories about Barack Obama and Between Two Ferns, it was also a totally different time, and we don't have a Barack Obama, right? Like,
I
we do
know.
not like, sorry, but like, we don't have someone who can shake up expectations. Like, part of the reason why that worked was because it was so unlikely, right?
Yeah.
Barack Obama playing the straight guy in a way that we'd never seen him do, and like really leveraging what is already, like, Barack Obama is hilarious. So, but in that dry way, it was perfect for that show. We don't have someone who is out, we just don't have that ability to do that with someone at this moment. We don't have a talent like that that's on board, that's on deck. And like, sure, Kamala Harris going on Hot Ones or whatever would be hilarious, but we don't, with like a joint cameo with Maya Rudolph, like that should have happened anyway, right? But and it should be happening now that Soros owns Hot Ones, like, great. But we should be thinking about what all of the opportunities we have, all that
Yeah.
are available to us at any given moment in time. No one piece of content is going to save us anymore. It's just
I
not.
totally agree. So wait,
And
I have some stone ideas.
Donald Trump is so good at this stuff and so entertaining. And it's just like, So I think I still stand by my point, which is if you're in Hollywood, if you're inclined to finance, produce, do something along these lines, like don't wait for talent like a Barack Obama to star in it.
Yes, agreed,
Don't
agreed.
wait for like just do something.
Just do it. Just totally do it. I mean, look, this is a great segue. I don't know how long we've been recording for, but like
Or
Honora,
call
like
us and we'll tell you what to do.
call us. Well, that's the other part is like, call us
You
for
need an
sure.
idea, call us. We'll
Call us
brainstorm
for
with you.
sure. Um, I think Honora is like a really beautiful encapsulation of this, right? A $6 million film. Like, just like think about that, Twig. $6 million film that just ran the fucking table at the Oscars. Think about how many hundreds of millions of dollars were spent, billions that were spent on this campaign, right? So that's just like, just in terms of sheer numbers, because when Democrats say we don't have money, that's bullshit. We do have money. We don't have creativity, or we don't have the willingness to understand that we don't know what the fuck we're doing, and like let's talk to people that do, right? So that's number one. And number two, I think that we need to start throwing out big creative ideas. For instance, Philadelphia Eagles. They're now in this, like, they're caught in the matrix right now because the last time they won the Super Bowl, they were like, fuck you, Donald Trump. We're not coming to the White House, right? Philadelphia Eagles is a just ready-made content. Why are we not programming that? And I don't mean the Democratic Party, to your point. This shouldn't come from the Democratic Party. But why is Barack Obama not welcoming the Philadelphia Eagles? Why are we not doing a Philadelphia Eagles, a counter White House event with the Philadelphia Eagles and Barack Obama? You know what I mean? And do it with creators from Pennsylvania. The Roots Picnic
I,
is right around the corner. Like,
I love
these
your
are
commitment to Barack Obama. I love your commitment to getting to Barack Obama content. I think it might be
I'm still
misguided.
committed.
I know. I think that ship might have sailed, but I hear you.
So then not Barack.
Um,
So then AO. So then what if
yeah, no, but I agree with the
AOC?
fundamental premise is like getting in the game and the reality that this is a 365 content operation that we should be
Yes.
running. And it cannot just be social. Like it cannot just be social. I don't know how to say
Yes.
this over and over
Yes.
and over
Agreed.
again. If it
Agreed.
is not long form, we are
Yes.
never going to hit our numbers. Americans watch 4 to 6 hours of video content every single day. If we are
Agreed.
not putting up hundreds of hours of content on YouTube every single week, we are never going to get the views that we need to actually be competitive and turn views into votes. I do not understand what people are doing. It cannot just be social. It cannot just be social. Like we have to build parasocial relationships. You don't do that in 30, 90,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
120-second snippets. And think about how many 3-minute increments there are in 6 hours, right? Charlie Kirk, all of these guys are putting up hour-long episodes, and then we are expecting to compete with 30 seconds, 90
More
seconds,
than an hour.
120
More than an
seconds. I
hour.
mean,
I mean, like,
multiple
yeah,
hours,
multiple
right?
hours.
It's very basic, and I like the refusal. And this goes not just this is like this isn't just a critique of Congress people.
Yeah.
It is a critique for the very small number of people who are both attempting to understand, investing in, directing the outcomes of the progressive media landscape. Like they have got to understand this math. I'm not sure that they do. I'm trying to convince as many people as I possibly can that I am right. The research is
Of
on my
course we're
side.
right. Twig, you
It's
and I
just,
talked about this in fucking July. You know what I mean? Like all of these articles about like the podcast bros and all this stuff coming out after the election happened. Like we saw this years out. We knew that this was going to happen. And the fact that we still have not seen not even close to a commensurate response. Like you would have thought, you know what I mean? Like you would have thought that knowing what just happened, knowing the strategy and the roadmap, and Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh in the fucking box, that box is reserved for heroes. That is the heroes box. You and I
Yeah.
used to have to work at OPE, and our job was to find heroes, real heroes, not just bad volleyball players that got hit in the head with a ball.
Dude.
Like, are you fucking kidding me? There are like 14 trans athletes, and they gave a clap to a
I
girl who
know.
got hit in the face with a ball. Like that's their hero. That's their hero. Ben Shapiro is their hero. Like Matt Walsh is their hero. It's unbelievable. It makes perfect sense, and it's scary because there's nothing more important to Donald Trump than storytelling. It's the reason why Hegseth is Secretary of Defense. It's the reason why Tulsi is the head of national intelligence. These are people who are great on media, good looking, charismatic, may have had a sexual assault or two, you know,
Hmm.
sort of brush that aside. It's all about media. That's all he cares about. That's all he cares about. We
Yeah.
have no media strategy. None. Like Twig, like if you could, from the past 2 months, being actually like generous, what has the Democratic Party's media strategy been
I don't
the
know.
past
I honestly don't know. It doesn't seem like a coherent strategy. If there has been one, if there has been one, I can't discern what it is. I mean, I suppose it's like this Democrat, like what Democrats did today thing of like
2 months?
Democrats like
Oh,
do stuff.
true. You mean the very block, the just text heavy Instagram
Yeah.
carousel?
Like, so I guess the strategy is like we're not feckless.
But like also
While
all
also
the
though
things are like,
screaming, but while also screaming, we have no power, there's nothing we can do, there's nothing we can do. But then it's like, but look what we did today. Like I don't like, okay.
unbelievable.
I don't know how strategic that is.
It's unbelievable. All right, while we close, I threw out the Philadelphia Eagles idea, which is, you're right. I always do think about this from the perspective of Barack Obama because I do still think he's the GOAT for the Democratic Party. And it's not like he's dead. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like he's still out here
Yeah.
making Bruce Springsteen podcasts or something, making documentaries that, I don't know, like no one really watches. I don't know. Like he's still out here doing stuff. He's building his library and his foundation, which is brilliant. But it's like, I do think that we put so much of our trust and responsibility in the hands, sadly, of people like Jon Stewart. And what is Jon Stewart doing? Jon Stewart is fucking challenging Elon Musk to like toe to toe and like winning. Like Elon Musk is now going to go on the Daily Show. It's like what are like, and I love Jon Stewart, and God bless him, and God bless all of the Daily Show correspondents. Our good friend Ronnie Chang, Desi Leidick, like all these people are incredible. What are we doing on our side to supplement that, to support that, to buttress that? I think that I'm just getting fired up here. Like, I don't know, man. We're flailing in the wind is the only way to put it because there's all of this energy here in DC, but it all leads to last night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was planned. Like someone spent money on, like there was a political
Those little
consulting
signs.
firm. Yeah, exactly. Like someone spent time on that and they're like, you know what we should do? This is what we should do. Like that's really what the American people
Did you
want.
see Colbert flame them for that?
Oh, God bless Stephen Colbert. I'm sure. I mean, like, look.
He held up a little sign in his opening monologue and said, try doing something.
Yeah,
Fling.
like Colbert was in Chicago during the convention. He did all of these live shows in Chicago. This guy every day is pushing back against Donald Trump with regards to storytelling. Why? Maybe you and I should just start doing it. Like, why are we not every single day getting the communications directors for all of these members of Congress on the phone with the writing teams of of all of these shows who are
Yeah,
doing the work that they should be doing. Why is that not happening? You know?
it's a
I
great
don't know.
question. I wish it would.
I mean, again, Twig and I are grieving clearly.
And listen, there's always things that are happening that you don't know are happening,
Sure,
right? So
that's
I
true. That's
also
true.
want to at least acknowledge that there's a lot of really smart people planning really interesting stuff, some of which I know about, and I'm sure a ton of which I don't. And so, like,
But
you
we
have to
just
give an allowance for that. But, like, time to start
but
popping, baby. Time to
we
pop up,
whiffed last night. The reason why we're
pop
so
up and
upset,
show, pop
the
up and
re-
show out.
the reason why we're so upset is because we whiffed last night. And I know that
Yeah.
Trump did not give that much advance notice. I think he had announced he's doing the speech maybe like a week ago, not even a
Yeah.
week. So there wasn't a lot of time to pull something together. But y'all, plan something right now. There should be a
But
100
you know
day.
it's coming. You know it's
Yeah,
coming. The minute
yeah.
when he got elected, I mean,
You
every
knew this was
president gives a
coming.
joint address. Like that's what you do. And so it's not, it doesn't matter what the date is. There should
True.
have been a committee on like big marquee event responses that was like already popping. Like that's, I think, the thing that I find so relentlessly frustrating is none of this is a surprise. And so
Yeah.
none of it should be unplanned for. Like none of it should be rinky dink. Guys, we know all of these things are coming. We know these benchmarks are coming.
Yes. Yes. So the Bernie oligarchy tour, fight the oligarchy tour, has been awesome. I know I kind of threw a little bit of shade at it just because
A
it's
little
not
bit.
going to solve everything. I love I love Bernie. I think what he's doing is fucking great. And I'm surprised that there aren't more examples of this because we know Republican members of Congress have now confirmed they are no longer doing town halls, right? Because what's happening at these town halls is that everyday government workers, because there are government workers in every fucking state, in Kansas, in Missouri, in Tennessee. There are park rangers in every red state, came to these town halls and just dominated. Many members of Congress had to leave the town hall because they were getting so fucking smoked by everyday people saying, "What is it that you are doing for us? You
Yeah.
are firing us. We are doing our jobs," right? So no more of that. No more Republican town halls. What are Democrats doing? To your point, it can't just be short form content. What are the live events that we are doing? You know, what are like Democratic town halls should be like full on creative opportunities to tell the stories of those being affected by Doge. That should just
Yeah.
be that should just be a whole communications like Reed Hoffman, bro, you gave so much money to such bullshit. Just spend money on that. Just spend money on that, Reed. Reed, you spent money on such bullshit. Such bullshit. Spend money on that. Do that, bro. You know, and all these people spend so much money on such bullshit. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Uh,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, to be fair, it's sort of like I think it wasn't obvious. I think it was less obvious at the time of their giving how much bullshit it was, you know? I think
Yeah.
that there was a credible case to be made that like Future Forward would was doing the right thing or was actually, but like at no point have is anything that I've seen made, for people
Anything.
who have not had to compete in culture to win presidential elections,
Yeah.
I understand why they gave money in the way that they did. And yet there was just a fundamental lack of reckoning and acceptance around the fact that we were engaged in a cultural war less than whatever war they were fighting. It was not a traditional
Yes.
campaign, whether it was Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. And so we actually just missed the boat, right? Like it doesn't matter that they gave just doesn't matter. Like we made a
Good
miscalc
point.
2.5 years ago about what kind of battle this was going to be. And
But
So
shame on us, though. Not you and me. I
totally.
just mean shame on you and me. We're calling it every single day, but shame on the Democratic Party, you know?
Yeah.
And with that said, I have high hopes for Roger Lau. Spoke to Roger,
The new ED of the Democratic Party.
the new executive director of the Democratic Party. Twig has said from day one that, you know, the chair, whatever, the person who's really going to be doing some shit is Roger. And we've known Roger for years. Roger was the first major Asian American campaign manager of a presidential candidate. And that candidate was Elizabeth Warren. We love Roger. Roger's great. So we're
Yeah.
excited about him. We're excited about a lot of leaders that have like
Oh
stepped
my
up
God.
for us
Speaking of
to.
Elizabeth Warren, though,
What
he called her
happened with her?
Pocahontas. He
Of
called her
course he did. Of
Pocahontas
course he did. Of
in
course he
the
did. Of
Ukraine exchange. I
course he
couldn't.
did.
So Phoebe, who is here visiting from London and is a brilliant, one of my best friends and a brilliant comedy writer. Um, she was just like, wait, what? Like she didn't actually know the context
Right.
of the, but anyway,
He's like,
yeah.
what are you Americans? What is this?
What are you guys talking about? Like, what is your president doing? He just called someone Pocahontas.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing about Trump. You know, I did watch I couldn't get through the whole thing because we had to record, but
Yeah.
um, the part that he's so good at is the teleprompter insult. Teleprompter insult. Like he gets
No,
through
he
some
knows what he's
facts,
doing.
looks over the Democrats because they're not cheering, and he's just like, look at these losers. Look at these losers not cheering. You know, like, and we need to have, we just don't have an answer for that right now. And that answer needs to come in the form of art. It needs to come in the form of content. It needs to come in the form of real life stories. The To end on a hopeful note, polling that came out has shown that Trump is now underwater with independents. Doge is actually very, very under the water and not as popular as I think Republicans expected it to be. It's very popular among Republicans. Among Democrats and independents, it's tanking. And so, you know, these are all opportunities for us to make the clear contrast, right, to what Colbert was saying. It's like we now have to be for something. And because they are taking away these fundamental jobs, but these fundamental services, we now have the opportunity to explain what these services are. You know,
Yeah.
like we've been given. Actually, it's kind of a gift. I mean, I am wow. Look at me, really trying to be optimistic. I'm fucking reaching here, but this is an opportunity to explain what these things are now in a way that's dramatic, right? In a way that's heartfelt. When you're talking to the NIH researcher, when you're talking to the park ranger, when you're talking to the VA hotline operator, like these are all incredibly essential services for the American people that no one understands what this is, you know? And so there should be
Yeah.
a whole strategy. Like there should be weekly films made on this.
Yeah.
And it's probably not going to come from the Democratic Party. It's got to come from somewhere else. And you're right. Like it can't just be short form. It has to be events. It has to be long form. It has to be just in the culture in however we can do it. However we can hack the culture, we've got to do it. And yeah, I mean that's all I've got. I mean the perfect example of hacking culture is our girl Lindy Lee, who I just texted yesterday because I was so confused. I was not really following the Lindy Lee of it all. And this is what the right wing ecosystem is built. Like, think about this, Twig. Lindy, who I've known for short amount of time, she was a very prototypical fundraiser, right? Like she's at every White House event. She's the first person in line at every single event. It's clear the only reason she's at the event is because she wants proximity. She wants a photo. She wants to be able to say she took a photo with Biden, right? Like people like you and I, we go to these events. We've been to hundreds of them, literally hundreds, because when we worked at the White House, you run those events. So none of that stuff matters. What matters is like the people there, obviously the run of show, making sure that, for people who've never been to the White House, welcoming them, hearing from them, talking to them. No, Lindy Lee's one job when she goes to these things is to get a photo with the president. Now we know
Yeah.
that none of that was real. And like, she's not the first person in the world to
How did you meet
do
her?
this. I met her at an event. I met her at
Yeah.
one of these
At
events.
the White House? Yeah.
Yeah, I met her at one of the, I think it was like an AAPI or something. I don't know. It was like a progressive event. And I think the Democrats and the left are so appalled at Lindy and are like, she's the greatest traitor. And it's like, I don't know, bro. Like, one, we've created these incentive structures within the Democratic fundraising apparatus that people like Lindy Lee can throw her weight around and be at these events to even begin with, right?
Yeah.
That's the person that we are inviting to 15 events at the White House, Lindy Lee. We're not inviting the Steelworkers local director in Michigan.
Yeah.
We're not inviting that person. We're inviting Lindy. Why are we inviting Lindy? For the hope that she might find some big donor or that her family might donate money to the Democratic Party. So in a lot of ways, like this is all the Democrats' fault because they created Lindy Lee. That's number one. Number
Yeah.
two, she decides the day after the election that now she's MAGA. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, amazing. Lindy, we'd love for you to come on the podcast and explain how that happens. Because I honestly am very intrigued by how that happens. Other than what I think a lot of people are sort of putting two and two together. But here's what happens, Twig. The right wing embrace her. She goes on every major right wing podcast, every major right wing platform. And they're like, come on,
She has really been
come
like
on.
the oddity of the season.
Yeah. They're like, come on. There's a whole ecosystem here for you. We're going to put you on Fox News every day. We're going to put you on News Nation. We're going to put you on OWN. We are going to allow you. And the vast majority of the stuff that she's been saying is all mostly conjecture and just like, she is not like a, and we'll talk to Lindy about it. She's like, makes it seem like she was in the inner circle of Biden White House. You weren't. You were in the front line because you wanted a photo. You were not. But
Yeah.
the right has built, to your point, just a platforming system that someone like that can now get all of this misinformation about the Democratic Party at a scale that we can't compete with, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is a scary thing to me as well. In addition to Trump last night, the Lindy Lee of it all is scary to me because it shows how fucking easy it is to be a right wing grifter. It's
Yeah.
so easy.
Well,
It's so easy.
because they understand that they need content.
I
So it
know.
doesn't matter whether or not you're a grifter. It doesn't matter or not whether or not you're good or you're true or you're honest or you're credible or you're an expert. It's like the entire point is that they need fresh content because they're
Yeah.
programming hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of entertainment for a country that's addicted to content.
Yes. So what do
So
we
none of
do
that
to combat
matters.
it? I
Make
mean,
more content.
we have to make more content. We have to make more content. Twig and Jenkins, we got to do some stunts too. I was realizing maybe we host the Philadelphia Eagles. I was thinking about the Roots picnic. I'm gonna
I'd
reach
be
out
into
to
that.
Z. Reach out to Z because you don't
When
need
is
all
that?
of the Eagles. You don't need all of the Eagles at the Roots picnic. I think it's like May or June. I think it's like end of May,
Yeah.
beginning of June. But like, we need to create moments right now where um, very trusted and public people are able to stand side by side with everyday people who've been affected by what's happening. Like
Yeah.
those two things need to happen every day, every day.
Yeah.
And, as much as I love a lot of, celebrities and talent, you know, they should follow the Cory Booker model right now. You know, put these kids, put these young people, put these park rangers, put these Veterans Affairs folks, put these, people working who got fired from HHS, CMS, all of these agencies on your grid, bro. Not
Yeah.
just in your stories, you know? Put them on your
Yeah.
grid.
Totally.
Anyway,
All right, man. I think we call
so
it.
I think we call it. We're gonna keep going. Uh what were your last minute thoughts on the Oscars? What was your if you had a rating of 1 to 10, what did you think?
No, it's fine. I mean,
I love Conan. I'm a Conan head, so
Conan, yeah, Conan was great. I love Conan too. I mean, it was fine. It was kind of boring.
it's a little boring.
Like, I cried when Cynthia Erivo was singing. I mean,
So,
she's extraordinary, but otherwise, like that James Bond thing was weird. I mean, I liked the performances, but I was just like, why is this happening? I'm not, for political reasons, a big fan of Honora. And so I thought it was sort of whack that it won all the awards. But what do I care? Um,
such a weird Oscars year.
yeah, it's
Such a
fine.
weird
I mean,
Oscars year.
I don't know what the ratings were, but it's like,
Sure, they weren't that great. The fact that Demi Moore lost to Mickey was just so. Is it Mickey or Mikey? Mikey was just the substance. It was like that was
I
the
know,
substance.
I know, I know. But it's also like
Oh,
this sort of insidious thing of like the Academy loving, like I think something crazy like 9 times a woman has won a best actress for portraying a prostitute.
oh yeah.
It's just like, or a sex worker, excuse me. It's not 1992. But I don't know, man. It was just sort of like, I don't know. I thought Nora was a bit cringy. And then people being like, "Oh my God, progress!" Like the sex workers, and it's just sort of like, I don't know how um how good of a portrayal that really is about sex work. So,
Interesting.
but whatever. I'm not in the
This is
Academy.
this is the thing about the Academy. I mean, it's also like that with black actors. How many black actors have won in films where they're
Right.
portraying slaves?
Yeah.
Or
So true. Or gangsters.
how many best picture films have gone to portrayals
Green
of the
Book. Say
Holocaust?
less. Green Book. Say less.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
We love the
I
cliche.
will say Adrian Brody's speech was the cringiest thing I've watched on live television, and I watched last night's Trump speech, so that should say
It
quite a
was a
bit.
lot. We watched it the day after. We watched it live for half the show, and then our kids obviously have to go to bed. So then we watched the rest. Um, that also is very confusing for my children who kept saying, "What is sex work?" So I was like, "Oh yeah, maybe we shouldn't watch the Oscars
Tricky.
with our kids." But yeah,
What answer did he give them?
I just said this is like adult stuff. It's adult stuff.
Um,
I don't know how that's gonna
right.
go. Hopefully they don't Google it. Anyway, but then Brody goes on, and it was one of the more self-indulgent
Oh, it was
uh
repellent.
yeah, one of the more self-indulgent, and I really like Brody as an actor and as a human. I At least up until now. I don't know. He's certainly, I
Like
don't know.
throwing your gum to your partner, like tuck it into your cheek like a
Weird.
grown up. And then just going on and on for 6 minutes and then being like, turn the music off. I've done this before. It was just like, ah, it was so self-important and self-indulgent. And it was just like, oh, I hated
Yeah.
it. I hated every minute of it.
It was kind of the worst,
Such a turn off. It was such a turn off.
kind of the worst of Hollywood.
And then I was
Wow.
just like, how many people are in this audience being like, I wish I could take my vote back?
I know. They should have given it to Timmy. Timmy would have crushed it.
I know, I
Timmy would
know.
have crushed that speech. Um,
All right,
all
man.
right. Well, we did
Good
it,
to see
Twig.
you. We'll
It
talk
was good
later
to
this
see
week.
you.
Or I
We'll
guess
talk
maybe we're
later this
done
week.
for this week, but I don't know. Next
We'll,
week, who
we'll
knows?
talk
We'll be
next
back
week.
soon, y'all.
We'll talk next week. And I'm saying this on the camera so that I do it. I'm gonna start making some like TikTok content. We're gonna start a Twig and Jenkins TikTok feed. I'm gonna start making weird videos when I take my kids to school because that's when I have time. So I'm gonna start making videos of my ride, dad ride to school, and
Do it.
going through what's happening in the day. And
More
then
content.
Twig is traveling all over, but we're gonna try to hopefully meet up in person soon.
Yeah.
TBD, TBD.
TBD.
We'll see. All right,
All
team.
right, man.
We did
Bye.
it. All right, we're doing a rare post pod postscript because Twig and I were just catching up again. We're like, no, we should just keep recording. Let's keep recording. So go. And
No, we just like
you're also cooking breakfast right now, which
I
I love.
basically wanted to stop recording because I started getting so hungry. And
Stop
then
it.
we just kept talking because that's what yappers do. And
Yeah.
we decided to start recording again. But two of the things that I meant to talk about were that two of the most brilliant things that I said. You said something as we were just, all right, starting over. You said something that reminded me of one of the things that I meant to talk about on the podcast, but I forgot, which
Yeah.
is like people love Trump's selfishness. And I think that it's because they think that selfishness is working in their favor. And two
Yes.
things that he did last night that I think were really brilliant, though, is that he said, this is our presidency. He's like, this isn't my presidency. This is
Yes.
our presidency. And I thought that was a really brilliant line and like a really smart way to transform this like independent enterprise into a collective enterprise, which human beings are incredibly responsive to. Like that was his version of yes, we can, si se puede. Like that was his version of being like, this is about us, not me. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant. And then something else he did last night that I think he had done throughout the campaign, but we sort of, it was maybe the most like serious and somber moment, aside from some of the victims' family moments, but he said that the reason why God saved him in the assassination attempt was so that he could make America great again. And like for the true believers, that is a really potent messaging framework. And I think we
Yeah.
should not overlook the like the really serious potency of that kind of messaging to the Republican base. Like both uniting them in a collective enterprise that is our presidency, which then will obscure any of the sort of sacrifices, any of the sort of chaos. Like, yes, it's rough right now. Yes, maybe things are a little bit more expensive. Yes, we're in a like temporary moment of pain and hardship. Yes, it's sad that those families got ripped apart and somebody deported, but it's all for this bigger thing. It's all part of this greater good. It's our presidency. We have to make tough choices and we have to make sacrifices in order to make America better again. And then adding on top of all of that, like the divinity of God